If King Solomon were alive today, there's one financial mistake he would never forgive. Not because it's illegal, not because it's immoral, but because it silently destroys wealth while convincing people they're doing everything right. Most people believe financial failure comes from earning too little. Solomon taught the opposite. He warned that some of the poorest decisions are made by people who are already making good money. This deception feels harmless. It feels logical. It even feels responsible. And that's why so many intelligent, hard-working people fall into it without ever realizing what's happening. By the end of this video, you'll understand why increasing income doesn't fix this problem, why comfort can be more dangerous than struggle, and why Solomon believed wisdom matters more than money itself. Before we continue, like this video and subscribe to the channel. Here we reveal ancient wisdom that exposes modern financial traps, and what comes next may completely change how you see money. Most people believe financial security comes from one simple idea: make more money. If income increases, stress should decrease. If numbers go up, peace should follow. But Solomon would call this belief a dangerous illusion, not because earning more is wrong, but because money without wisdom doesn't create security. It creates dependence. Solomon understood something modern culture refuses to admit. Wealth does not protect those who don't understand it. In fact, the more money someone earns without discipline, the more fragile their financial life becomes. Because income has a strange effect on the human mind. It doesn't calm desire, it expands it. When money increases, expectations grow faster, lifestyle grows faster, obligations grow faster, and soon, the same person who once dreamed of financial freedom begins to feel trapped by the very success they chased. Solomon warned that wealth gained without understanding is like water poured into a cracked vessel. No matter how much you add, nothing stays. This is why so many people making more money than ever still feel anxious. They don't feel secure, they feel exposed. One unexpected event, one interruption, one mistake, and everything feels unstable. Solomon would say the problem isn't the amount of money. It's the lack of wisdom governing it. Modern thinking says, if I earn more, I'll fix my problems. Solomon would respond, if you don't fix your thinking, more money will multiply your problems. Because money amplifies who you already are. If discipline is weak, money weakens you faster. If patience is absent, money makes impatience expensive. This deception survives because it feels logical. People say, once I reach this income level, I'll relax. But Solomon knew relaxation without structure leads to decay. True financial security is not built on income. It's built on restraint, foresight, and understanding consequences before they arrive. Many people don't realize they're financially vulnerable until their income stops for a moment. And that moment exposes the truth Solomon warned about. Security was never coming from money. It was coming from wisdom, or the lack of it. Solomon believed wealth should serve peace, not pressure. If your money increases, but your anxiety grows with it, something is fundamentally wrong. And this illusion keeps people chasing numbers instead of mastering decisions. But this is only the beginning of the deception. Because once people believe money equals security, they fall into an even deeper trap. One that looks like success on the outside, but quietly destroys the future from within. And that is exactly what Solomon warned about next. Once people accept the illusion that more money equals more security, a second deception quietly takes control. It doesn't announce itself as a mistake. It presents itself as success. Solomon warned about this trap long before modern society gave it a name. He understood that many people don't pursue wealth for stability. They pursue it for appearance. This is where the danger deepens. Because the moment security becomes something to display rather than something to build, wisdom is replaced by performance. Solomon would say that when wealth exists to be seen, it stops existing to serve. And anything that must impress others will eventually enslave the one who maintains the image. Modern culture rewards visibility. Bigger homes, newer cars, expensive lifestyles, all treated as proof of progress. But Solomon taught that prosperity is not what others see. It's what remains when no one is watching. True wealth grows quietly. It doesn't demand applause. It doesn't rush to prove itself. The deception is subtle because it feels justified. People say, I worked hard for this. And Solomon would agree, Work is honorable. But he would also ask a question most people avoid. Is this decision strengthening your future or feeding your ego? Because there's a difference between reward and display, and confusing the two is costly. Solomon observed that those obsessed with appearing successful lose the ability to measure real success. They begin to finance respect instead of earning it. Approval becomes a recurring expense, and the price is always higher than expected. What starts as a symbol of achievement slowly becomes a financial obligation that demands constant maintenance. This is why many people look wealthy but feel trapped. They can't slow down. They can't step back. They can't take risks that matter. Their lifestyle has become a fragile structure that depends on constant income and external validation. Solomon would say they are not rich, they are exposed. He warned that wisdom builds margin, while vanity consumes it. Margin creates peace. Vanity creates pressure, and pressure forces decisions that wisdom would never choose. This is how appearance quietly erodes prosperity, one justified decision at a time. Solomon believed that wealth should reduce dependence, not increase it. If your financial life depends on others believing something about you, then your wealth is no longer under your control. It belongs to the image you are trying to protect. And here is the most dangerous part of this deception. Once appearance becomes the priority, thinking slows down. Decisions are made emotionally. Purchases are made quickly. Reflection feels like delay. And that leads directly into the next trap Solomon warned against, the habit that destroys wealth not through greed, but through speed. Once appearance becomes more important than wisdom, a new habit takes control of financial decisions: speed. Solomon understood that few things destroy wealth faster than decisions made without pause. Not because spending itself is evil, but because impulse trains the mind to obey desire instead of reason. Modern culture celebrates immediacy. Buy now. Decide fast. Don't overthink. Solomon taught the opposite. He believed wisdom lives in delay, in reflection, in the moment between desire and action. And he warned that people who eliminate that moment slowly lose control over their future. This deception is dangerous because it feels productive. Acting quickly feels confident. Hesitation feels weak. But Solomon would say restraint is not weakness, it is mastery. When people spend before they think, they don't just lose money. They weaken judgment. And judgment, once weakened, becomes easy to manipulate. At first, the consequences seem small. One unnecessary purchase. One emotional decision. One "I deserve this." But Solomon warned that repeated impulses shape character. Over time, the mind stops asking questions. Desire becomes authority. And wealth becomes reactive instead of intentional. This is why intelligent people still make poor financial decisions. Intelligence doesn't protect against impulse. Income doesn't protect against impulse. Only wisdom does. Solomon observed that people who refuse to pause eventually become servants to their own habits. And habits don't negotiate, they demand. Impulse spending also creates a dangerous illusion of control. People feel in charge because they are choosing. But Solomon would argue that the one who cannot delay pleasure is not choosing. They are responding. And responding is not the same as governing. Every impulsive decision reduces margin. And margin is where peace lives. Without margin, small disruptions feel like emergencies. Stress increases. Anxiety grows. And once pressure enters the picture, decisions become even faster and worse. This is how the cycle tightens. Solomon believed that wealth should be governed slowly and intentionally, because money magnifies consequences. A rushed decision with money doesn't stay small. It echoes. It compounds. And eventually, people find themselves wondering how they earn so much yet feel so constrained. The most tragic part of this deception is that it doesn't feel like failure. It feels normal. Everyone is doing it. Everyone is moving fast. And Solomon warned that following the crowd is one of the fastest ways to abandon wisdom. He taught that those who slow down gain clarity, while those who rush surrender it. And clarity is what protects wealth when emotions rise. Without clarity, even good intentions become expensive mistakes. But impulse does not exist alone. It feeds on comfort, because once people grow accustomed to ease, they resist anything that feels restrictive or disciplined. And that is where the next deception begins. The belief that comfort and freedom are the same thing. Once impulse becomes normal, comfort starts to feel like a reward. Solomon understood this danger clearly. He warned that comfort is one of the most seductive financial traps because it disguises itself as success. When life feels easy, people stop preparing. When things feel stable, vigilance disappears. And Solomon taught that what weakens awareness eventually weakens wealth. Comfort convinces people they are safe. Bills are paid. Income is steady. Nothing feels urgent. But Solomon believed urgency is not the enemy, complacency is. Because comfort encourages people to organize their lives around ease instead of resilience. And ease, while pleasant, does not protect against disruption. This deception grows quietly. People begin to choose convenience over structure, pleasure over preparation, today over tomorrow. Solomon warned that comfort slowly replaces discipline, and discipline is what creates freedom. Without discipline, comfort becomes fragile, and fragility always demands protection. Modern thinking equates comfort with success. Solomon separated the two. He believed success was the ability to withstand change without panic. Comfort, on the other hand, collapses the moment pressure appears. And pressure always appears, unexpectedly, unfairly, and without warning. This is why so many financially comfortable people feel anxious beneath the surface. They sense that their stability depends on everything continuing exactly as it is. Solomon would say that is not freedom. That is dependence wearing a pleasant disguise. Comfort also trains the mind to avoid restriction. Anything that feels limiting is rejected. Saving feels uncomfortable. Saying no feels uncomfortable. Preparing for unlikely events feels unnecessary. And slowly, the capacity to endure discomfort weakens. Solomon warned that those who cannot tolerate discomfort cannot sustain wealth. He believed freedom comes from preparedness, not pleasure. Prepared people can absorb shocks. Comfortable people cannot. When disruption arrives, the comfortable are forced to make rushed decisions, the very behavior Solomon warned against earlier. This is how comfort tightens the trap. It removes urgency, dulls foresight, and convinces people they've arrived. And arrival is dangerous, because arrival ends learning. Solomon taught that the moment someone believes they have reached stability, they stop strengthening it. The greatest irony is that comfort feels like the reward for wisdom, but often it is the replacement of it. And once wisdom is replaced, wealth begins to decay quietly, invisibly, long before numbers change. Solomon knew that true freedom is not the absence of discomfort, but the ability to face it without fear. And that ability only exists when decisions are made intentionally, not conveniently. This brings us to the final and most severe judgment Solomon made about wealth. Because while mistakes can be corrected and losses can be recovered, there is one failure he considered inexcusable: the refusal to listen to wisdom when it is available. And that is where the final deception reveals itself. After all the illusions, all the deceptions, and all the silent traps, Solomon identified one financial failure he considered truly unforgivable. Not because it causes loss, not because it leads to struggle, but because it is a conscious rejection of wisdom itself. Solomon believed mistakes are part of growth. Loss can teach. Failure can refine judgment. But ignoring wisdom when it is available is different. It is not an accident. It is a choice. And choices shape destiny. This is why Solomon judged this error so severely. He taught that wealth is not destroyed by ignorance alone, but by pride disguised as confidence. The belief that you already know enough. The assumption that experience replaces reflection. The refusal to listen because listening feels like weakness. This deception is the most dangerous because it hides behind success. People think, I'm doing fine. I figured it out. This doesn't apply to me. Solomon warned that the moment someone stops listening, they stop growing. And the moment growth stops, decay begins, even if it cannot be seen yet. Wisdom is always available, but it does not force itself. Solomon believed wisdom waits. It speaks quietly, and it withdraws when ignored. This is why some people keep repeating the same financial mistakes at higher levels of income. The problem was never money. It was resistance to correction. Solomon understood that wealth without humility becomes unstable. Humility keeps the mind open. Pride closes it, and a closed mind cannot adjust when conditions change. It reacts instead of responds. It defends decisions instead of examining them. This is why Solomon valued counsel so deeply. He believed that refusing instruction was not independence. It was vulnerability, because those who refuse wisdom must rely solely on their own perspective, and no single perspective is enough to govern wealth over time. The unforgivable mistake, in Solomon's eyes, was not spending too much, earning too little, or even failing publicly. It was hearing wisdom and dismissing it, seeing truth and delaying action, knowing better and choosing comfort instead. Solomon warned that wisdom ignored does not disappear, it becomes regret, and regret is always more expensive than discipline. Always. He believed that money responds to wisdom. It grows where wisdom is honored. It collapses where wisdom is mocked. This is why two people with the same income can end up in completely different places. One listens. One assumes. The final deception is believing that tomorrow will fix what wisdom is warning about today. Solomon taught that delay is often the final form of disobedience. And this is the question Solomon would leave with anyone who seeks wealth. Are you willing to listen before you are forced to learn? Because wisdom offers correction gently. Life does not. If this message challenged you, comment which deception affected you the most. 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. And remember, money follows wisdom, but wisdom only follows those willing to hear it.